Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking not about portables and wearables. We're going to talk about some of our big, heavy duty pumps. So this is your Spectra S1. This is your Spectra Synergy Gold. These are the pumps that we're going to turn to when we're dealing with a very vulnerable supply, when we're dealing with a supply that we really need like a customizable ability to get this pump to elicit the letdown. These are our heavy duty big hitters. This is what we call in when we got to get the job done. These are also the pumps that I recommend considering when you are a first time mom, a mom with low supply, anything where we don't either know how your supply tends to go or we have a more vulnerable situation. I love portables, I love wearables, but sometimes they're just not going to do the job. And if they're not going to do the job, then you're not going to be happy with the outcome. So there are times that what you need are these pumps. Now let's start by talking about the Spectra S1 and S2. So this is the Spectra S1. It is blue on the top. Blue is for battery. This is our rechargeable pump. The S2 is actually behind me. You can see it in the cabinets back here. It is pink and it is pink for plug in. So that one does not have an internal rechargeable battery. You do have to either plug it into the wall or you have to have it on an external battery pack. You can get an external battery pack for 30 bucks off of Amazon. You can Velcro it to the bottom. And I know that this is actually a sustainable way to pump because I was using my Spectra S2 there in the early days with baby number 3. And I just had a battery pack Velcro to the bottom because I don't do well staying hooked to the wall. Never have, never will. But Spectra S1 and S2 are the exact same machine. So when we're talking about the performance of one, we're talking about the performance of both. The difference is going to be the portability with the battery or the external battery pack and plug. So what's important to know with this pump hit the market, and I want to say 2014, maybe early 2015. I had just had my second baby. Medela was still the biggest name in the game, and we still talked about hospital rental pumps as being far superior to personal use pumps. And frankly, it was accurate. A lot of our personal use pumps just failed to perform the way that the hospital rentals would. So, you could buy a pump for a couple $100. Typically, pumps start at about 300 to 400, if I remember correctly. I know this because this came in at less than 200 and just like turned the market upside down overnight. But the original feedback on this was there's too many buttons. We were used to the Medela, the little boxy Medela that you can also see back there in the case. It's that little black square of doom. And all we had to do was turn a knob. So you turned it on, you turned a knob. There was one let down button that you could push on some of the models, but it was pretty easy to operate. This one comes in and we've got independent control of the cycle speed, independent control of the vacuum. We've got two different modes. We've got a power button and we've got a light button. And honestly, it just felt really overwhelming because we were not used to this at the time. People were very skeptical of this because Spectra was new to the US market. And here they're coming in with this pump that's performing as well as the Medela Symphony, which is probably like the most popular pump at the time. The Medela Lactina that you can see back there was also really popular. That was going to be more common in WIC offices and as rentals. Medela Symphony was going to be in the hospital. Amita had their Platinum and their Elite, but those were pretty hard to get your hands on. And this one just like rolls up in the market and is like, hey, I'm here and I'm better than you. And it was. It was a really good pump for a lot of people. What this pump boasts is the ability to customize your settings. It does top out at 70 cycles per minute. And it is on the lower suction side if you are double pumping for most people, unless you really get up there into the higher suction settings. This pump does not perform the same single pumping versus double pumping. I don't know of any other pump on the market that actually has such a dramatic performance difference between the two of them. For perspective, if you are single pumping with a Spectra S1 on stimulation level 5, you've got 245 mmHg of pressure, which is a lot more pressure than a lot of people need. If you are single pumping, you're down at 160. So it did mean that people who are trying to go between single and double, like this may not be the machine for them. It is fairly easy to go between, but it does have this lovely little like rubber tube cover, which is now starting to feel kind of clunky compared to how other pumps can get them hooked up. But you do have two tubing ports down here. You can make it single pump, you can make it double pump, which is great. It is compatible with most accessories on the market. Once you learn to utilize this pump, it is actually a really good pump. It does have this handle, which, you know, does make it portable. There actually is a fanny pack designed for this. It is by Idaho Jones, and it was one of those things that it does the trick. I think I would have loved this pump a lot more back in 2019 if I'd had that fanny pack for it and a better battery setup. But, you know, at the time it seemed like, oh, I don't really need a rechargeable battery. I didn't know myself when I was getting ready for that third baby. I had to figure that out. But this pump is overall, this is a great pump for a first time mom. I think everyone should have a pump of this caliper in their collection so that if something goes down and we need to make sure we are protecting your milk supply, that we've got a heavy hitter ready to go. This pump does the job. Now let's talk about the Spectra Synergy Gold, because this one does have some other features to discuss. So this one is a lot bigger. It does have a handle back here, but this is honestly, it's big and it's heavy. I would not say that this is as portable as the S1 and S2. This one is more of a tabletop pump in my opinion. I guess you could jam it into a bag with a battery pack, but it's so much heavier. Like, this is really light. This is really solid, which is crazy because there's no rechargeable battery in here. If Spectra would release this with a rechargeable battery, I think this could overtake a lot of the market because it does have even more customizable features and settings than the Spectra S1 and S2. But the fact that you have to plug it in and it's 2024 and moms really don't like that is a problem. But we have a lot of people who are like cult following this pump because it does a lot of things that the other pump can't do. So this is a dual motor pump. It has the same motor as your Spectra S1 and S2, but there's two of them. So you have independent control of left and right. Where this one also shines is that you have cycle speed control. So in stimulation on the S1 and S2, you only have 70 cycles per minute. On the Synergy Gold, you start, the lowest one is 74 cycles per minute. So it's going to be about the same as S1 and S2, but you can bump it up all the way to 108. Now, the curious thing is that is a huge selling point for this pump, yet Spectra has inaccurate information on the website. Another lactation consultant and I have actually pulled these pumps, tested them. I have one that was imported from South Korea. She has one that was bought here in the US. We're both getting the same cycle speeds. There doesn't appear to have been an FDA update, but they're performing differently than what their manual says online. I dislike that, but it's not really having an impact, so do keep that in mind. But you have the ability to pick your cycle speed and to go faster. For some of my moms with lower supply, the faster the better. For some of my moms with a more stubborn letdown reflex, maybe there's some nerve damage, we just need to really crank those cycle speeds in order to stimulate the nipple properly. This one shines because it's just really good cycle speeds. We do have really good control over the vacuum. However, the vacuum is going to be closer to what we see when you are single pumping with the Spectra, which means for some of our more sensitive moms, this pump just fails to have the right cycle speeds. There's also really big jumps. So it goes from 60 to 100 to 150 to 190 to 240. Whereas on the Spectra S1, S2, we get much smaller jumps when you are double pumping. So it goes from 40 to 70 to 115 to 160. So they're just ever so slightly smaller jumps, which can be a big difference for some people because maybe in the middle would have been great, but that jump may be too big and they may be stuck between this is not strong enough and then this is too strong and it's causing some pain. That is less of a problem on expression mode because we have 15 different vacuum levels on this pump, so that it beats the Spectra S1 and S2 because we have more settings, we have a little bit more customizability, you can dial it in just a little bit more. The cycle speeds on expression match the cycle speeds on the S1 and S2, so we've got 38, 42, 46, 50, and 54. This pump is going to cover almost 100% of people's needs. The thing that makes this pump not just universally great for everybody is the battery issue, and then the fact that the vibration on this machine is, in my professional opinion, a little too strong for a little too many people for my liking. So the S1 and S2 has, you know, a 90 to 95% are going to like it and be able to use it. We have that 5 to 10% that is just not going to work for. But if I have to carry a pump in my car and have it for home visits and know that it's going to work for the vast majority of moms, this is going to be one of the ones that I'm going to consider. This is Both of these are, no, actually, only this one is a single user pump. The FDA says this is not cleared for multi-user. However, we have a lot of moms who look at the situation. There is an S3, which is green and is supposed to be multi-user. We can't find any additional parts on it. So, I think they paid for different FDA testing, but we can't actually find any part that would make it any safer or less safe. The original motor is going to be good for about 1,000 hours. Sometimes we'll get up to 1,500. Sometimes with heavy use, it might get closer to 800. This one is definitely pushing that 1,500 to 2,000 range in terms of dying. Most of the time, if it dies, it's not going to be because it wears out. It's going to be because a component just simply fails, which is going to be a hazard with any pump. But this one has really strong vibration. It may be too strong on the vibration. So if you are using this pump with vasospasms and we adjust all the things that we need to adjust, we rule out latching issues, then we would have to tell you that your beloved Synergy Gold may be actually the cause of the vasospasms. Because this pump is so effective, it's one of the last things that we adjust because our hope is always we can get it back to working for you. But this pump is a powerhouse. It is amazing the results we see with this pump. So obviously, if you're here on my channel, you know I love portables. I love wearables. But these are heavy duty tools and there is a time and a place for them that wearables and portables will just never really be able to truly compete. If I am dealing with a complicated situation, I am going to recommend that you get these pumps. If you are a first time mom and breastfeeding is your goal and it is really fundamentally important to you, which is the case for a lot of people. I know a lot of moms go into it and say, I'll see if it works. But in the back of their mind, they're like, I really hope it works. If you're really hoping it works, having one of these on hand may give us just the tool we need to kind of protect the milk supply while we iron out any other issues, because most breastfeeding challenges we can fix, we can address, we do know how to work with them. So definitely think you should consider a pump like this. These are not the only heavy duty pumps on the market, but these are two of our most popular, and the Spectra customer service and the Spectra quality of these pumps is just really hard to beat. So it's going to come down to a lot of price, how you want to use it. If you're somebody who's like, I really don't want to deal with plugging it into a wall, then let's look at the Spectra S1. Not everybody needs a dual motor pump. In fact, I would argue most people don't need a dual motor pump. Most people need two different flange sizes if they're struggling like that. It is unlikely that you're going to truly need a dual motor pump unless there is something going on. Some people will need it though. Some people do find that, one breast empties better on much stronger suction, but on the other one, it just doesn't tolerate it. So we do need that. But if we need that, we can always get it. I do recommend, it used to be a common hack to see people pumping with two S1s or two S2s. And if you're doing that, by all means, go get yourself a Spectra Synergy Gold. You do not need to be using two breast pumps unless for some reason it's more cost effective and it's working for you. And if it's working, don't fix it. But I do think the Spectra Synergy Gold would be a better fit for that need. So let me know your thoughts on these pumps. I do think they have a time and a place. They are large. They are going to be they're large and in charge. They're big pumps. But sometimes that's what we need. So let me know your thoughts and let me know if you have any questions about these, but definitely consider these as part of your breastfeeding management plan, especially if, you think that that's going to be what you need is a heavy duty, heavy hitter pump. So give them a try.